there, it's Polly here. Yay! I'm just going to do a brief review at reviewer request of one of my own games. So, way back in my high school days, early TSR days, they did a game called Boot Hill. Boot Hill is a Wild West role-playing game. Now, back then, we were kind of, D&D was like brand new. So this was really this was very early TSR stuff. This was right after Small Brown Box D&D really came out. We couldn't quite figure out what it was for, because it was like, at this stage you're about 14 or 15, and okay, I'm in the Wild West, but yeah, what do I do? It's like, yeah, a massive amount of money. What do I do? Just have a bigger ranch than everyone else? It's like, no, it hadn't quite sunk in yet that just the adventure and the story is the thing. You're not there to be the richest guy in the Wild West, you're just there to have fun. But something that did happen was you'd be down in someone's dungeon, you'd go through the wrong door, and the umpire would fling you into a Boot Hill setting. So now, you're running around and you've got your elf and your dwarf, or in my case, my half-orc, Orc McGraw, and your wizards and so on, and you're in Boot Hill, and so you get to like cast magic, and maybe you still got a flail and some chainmail and whatever, and now you've got a 6-gun, and then you might eventually have some adventures and come back to D&D world, but hey, you brought a 6-shooter back with you with a bit of limited ammunition, and it was fun. But I decided to write a love letter to that. I did a game that is magic spliced with Wild West. It's called D20 to Yuma. The hat tip for the name to to my wonderful Bryn. D20 to Yuma. So the idea is something has happened and different people from different fantasy worlds have been kind of flung together into a new world. So there are elves and orcs and dwarves, and all the usual D&D fantasy stuff was flung into this world. But people from a Wild Westy style world were flung in there as well. That technology has survived. People don't forget how to make steam engines and guns. So this is now a Wild Westy style tech and environment that has fantasy races and magic. The typical thing that you do for these sorts of games that I'll see people do, they'll always do a reimagined American West, and they'll always have the bloody Confederacy still going, and they'll often have Texas as a separate thing, and they'll have some Indian nations as separate things and so on. It's like, that's done a lot. So I decided for a more purely fantasy setting. Plus it comes with no baggage. Face it, we want a surviving Confederacy to have happened like we would all like a hole in the head. Just take the curse of it. There's never any slavery here. This is this is Magic D&D world. So D20 to Yuma. It is a D20 based game, but it's a D20 roll low. Because it's a skill based game. You've got lots of skills. The skill is a number between 1 and 20. You're trying to roll the skill number or less to achieve a hit or a win with the skill. There are many different kind of species that you can go. So there's the usual fantasy guys, but it's opened out a lot wider. So as well as elves and dwarves and halflings and half elves and that sort of stuff, you can also be like lizard folk and dark elves, and also there's coyote folk and puma folk, so there's some kind of Wild Westy kind of flavored guys. So they're all there, and you can choose some special talents at the start of the game. If you want, you can say, I have some kind of mystic talents, and those talents you then can choose more specifically what they are. You can be a beastmaster, for those of you who are fond of Andre Norton and so on. So yes, so you've got animal companions and the talking horse and whatever. You can be a cleric-y sort, which means you can turn undead, because there are undead out here, and do healing magic and that sort of stuff, and clerical magic. There's mentalism, and there's also sorcery. You can choose those. The people who have those powers tend to advance more slowly because they've got mystic powers to kind of concentrate on. the difference between being able to cast magic missile and unload to both barrels of a shotgun into someone is like, it's not that huge an advantage in many ways, but the utilitarian spells and the cool stuff, is of course really useful. Those who have mystic powers start off with less skills, but there's a great big long personality generator that you can generate quirks and so on for your personality, so you can get some role playing involved here, and so you make a character. You pick skills. You get everyone gets 10 skills unless you are a mystic person, in which case you get about 6. And get your gear and you're ready to go. So the overall tech was set for like around about 1879 thereabouts. So it's lever action rifles, it's 6 guns, etc. But of course, it's not our world. So these aren't actually Colts and Remingtons and yada yada squee. They're what these guys make on that general pattern. But there's a slew of cool weapons to choose from, of course, and off you go. Missile fire, obviously you're rolling to hit. Difficulty of target is reducing your chance to hit. I put in a simple advantage disadvantage system, so if you're advantaged, roll twice and take the best. Disadvantaged, roll twice and take the worst. So if someone's in cover, roll twice and take the worst. And there is a melee system, and there's also a saloon brawling system, because it's a trope of the genre that for some reason at the drop of a hat everyone basically busts bottles over each other's head and ends up with a dancing gal somehow bafflingly around their neck while they're trying to have a punch out with someone. So okay, there's a whole fun comedic saloon brawl system in there as well. Now, I presume, being the intelligent folk you are, you have seen those wonderful little memes running around of the Bard. They are cartoons that are done, and it's a D&D party, and the implications are there's a Bard in there who's obviously shagged everything in Fantasyland. Those are done by an old friend of mine, Frederick Anderson. He's a Swedish role-playing gamer and comic artist, and I've known him for decades. Freddie is a riot. Freddie did all the illustrations on this, everything, and so they're all done with that level of comedy in them. So I was really proud of the artwork in this. They were beautiful. He did a fantastic job. Freddie's just magnificent. And some of those things are just the comedy in the illustrations was wonderful. I was really, really proud of the monsters in this. I did a massive list of monsters. So there's the expected kind of D&D monsters, but with a Wild Westy kind of twist, given the setting. And there's a huge array of these things down there. But what I was really proud of was that every single monster entry has multiple adventures in it using that monster. So there's lots of different, quite extensive at times, adventure feeds. Some of those illustrations are wonderful. So there's things like giant snapping turtle. An American alligator snapping turtle has an end on its tongue that's a lure designed to look like a worm. They kind of sit there and wiggle this thing, and as a fish comes for it, these things will eat them. Remarkably horrible creatures. There's a giant snapping turtle in the rules, and so Freddie's illustration of that is this thing's behind a waterfall, and it's got its tongue sticking through the waterfall, but its tongue is designed to look like basically naked elf babe having shower in the waterfall, and there's sort of, you got cowhand coming over to say howdy, pretty lady. I felt like such a bastard as I was writing out the art instructions for this. Likewise, when you get to the mimic, Freddie's drawn an outhouse that's a mimic. So there's a guy heading for the outhouse, and you can see the outhouse, like the steps are actually the tongue, and the little holes in the sides are actually the thing's eyes. Such a bastard. There's giant skunks rubbing up against people. But I was really proud of the fact that every single monster entry has multiple adventures using that monster. Now, so it's a good game. It's rip-roaring, gun-toting, magic using fun. It was just a hoot. And the artwork was That was the icing on the cake. It was a love letter to some fine old games and to a genre that, you know, is just a riot. But what I then did a campaign book that goes with this. And that campaign book is an entire region of kind of Wild West with it's got a starting town, there's intrigues in the town, there's saloons, there's a whole cast of characters, there's jobs aplenty, there's mysteries going on, and the region has dungeons aplenty, lots of dungeons to go into. There's haunted towns, you know, ghost towns and all these sorts of things. There's American Indian areas. There's trails for people who are, you know, coming in. There's banditos. The idea is that this is kind of near a border area, near a place that's a little bit like Mexico during the whole Juarista French intervention wars. So there's kind of like nearby there's border troubles, kind of French style guys and Mexican style guys. You can get drawn into all of that, and there's magicians aplenty, and there's hidden undead, and, you know, harpies in the Mur Hills, and great. So there's just a whole campaign there immediately available to just roll into. So yeah, I was actually proud of it. It was a great little game. It was fun to do. Freddie's artwork was a joy to behold, and it's just a great little piece of homage to games and gamers long gone, but also a bit of fun that everyone can enjoy. The research on this was hilarious. I mean, I watched, you know, basically every Western ever made, and just sat there, you know, going through stuff and making sure the tropes can play themselves out. There's a lot of things out there like Aces and Eights and so on, you know, as Wild West games. I just find them too complex. There's thousands of niggling charts to look at, and, you know, they really complexify things. No, a robust system that's simple, that we can understand, that's got a lot of character depth to it, and this, it's not the power spiral that you get in D&D where you go up levels and just become so unkillable. You will slowly accrue some extra toughness, but you'll be honing your skills. You'll become faster on the draw, more accurate, more able to tell that guy is going to be trouble. You know, it's a skill-based game. So, you know, look, anyway, it's up there on drive-through. It's a hoot. If it intrigues you, do take a look. As I said, some people asked me to review a couple of my own things, so shameless plug here. But I had a riot doing it, and I think it shows. So anyway, if you've enjoyed the channel, by all means, hit the like button, subscribe, find me on Patreon, and yeah, get out there and game, and yeah, spread the joy. Okay, cheers everyone. Bye.